Dodgebolt is an incredible minigame from the Minecraft Championship, or MCC, where the best two teams go into a dramatic head-to-head final, but I want to remake it in vanilla. First, I'll need two platforms. I think this should do for now. So one of the cool things about ice is its temperature. The slippery effect can transfer through like slabs and carpets. So you don't actually need to have this blue platform. You can decorate the top of it and still get that same effect. And I think that effect will be useful for two reasons. Firstly, it will make dodging more interesting, having that sliding effect as well as the like big changes in direction and the big jumps you can get from ice. And the second reason is that it will make the punch effect from the bows a lot more powerful. Because my idea here is, rather than killing the player with a bow shot, because that might take some preparation, even Power 5 doesn't always one-shot when you've got no armour, we can knock the player off the back of the platform. And I think the ice will help with that. Let's talk arrows. In Dodgebolt, there are always two arrows in play. So let's say the blue team has two arrows. They fire one arrow to that side. Doesn't matter whether they miss or they kill someone. After a few seconds, that arrow will then appear on the red side. And then once the second one is fired, again, the system knows to make that arrow appear on this side. So there's this kind of turn-based system which works really well, especially in a tens final in the MCC. Unfortunately, I think that will be too difficult to track in vanilla. I did have one idea. And that idea was to use tripwire hooks. So we have this kind of net in the middle, and as the arrows get fired through, the system will be able to recognise when an arrow has been fired. But there's a few problems with this. Firstly, as you saw then, that arrow went through the gap and wasn't recognised by the system. These tripwire hooks do not. You see how there's a gap between those two hitboxes. So it's not a great system to start with. And there's a few other problems. If the player misses completely, then that arrow is simply lost from the system. If a player shoots through the wires but hits the ground, the opposing team will then be able to collect that arrow, and they will get another arrow through the system. And if a player who is carrying an arrow gets shot off the edge, that arrow that they were carrying is now lost from the system. So I just don't think there is a viable way to track the arrows within the system to make sure that there is always two arrows. But I still want there to be this turn-based mechanic. I think that is key to this game. It's key to the drama of it. When you've got one team that's shooting, one team that's dodging, and then that swaps and keeps swapping. Every miss counts and every hit counts, and I want to still replicate that in this vanilla game. So my idea here is that, let's say every 15 seconds, one side will get two arrows. And then they've got 15 seconds to shoot those arrows. They can hold on to them if they want, but realistically they should be firing them within those 15 seconds. And then the other team gets two arrows. So you will still end up with this kind of back and forth pattern of shooting, dodging, dodging. And I think that could be quite fun. So I just want to test something here. We've got a dropper facing up. I'm going to put some arrows in it. It's got a 3x3 of ice on top. And if I activate this, does the arrow go up through the platform or does it get spat out the side? That seemed to go up through the top. Let's try again. Yeah, that looks good to me. I was thinking I might need to block in the dropper from the side, but no, I think that works. So now let me try it with carpet. Yeah, it kind of gets flung out to the side, which might be a problem. Yeah, I'm wondering if... because this is only 9 blocks wide. So it seems to be consistent though. It seems to always want to go this way. Let's try it again. Okay, it's not consistent. Oh dear. That is just just too far. Okay, sometimes it goes straight up. That's good. And sometimes it gets launched out not too far. So I guess this is an added minigame of catch the arrow before it falls off the edge, which is not really what I had in mind. So what I'm going to try is, let's put the dropper here. It does mean that we have one area that doesn't have the ice effect. So that again, that one actually came out at an angle. Okay, that one was better. Okay, these are much better. Occasionally it does still fly out to the side. I think that's fine. The alternative is I could drop the arrow from the top or throw it in from the side. But I think redstone-wise it makes a lot more sense to have it underneath. So now I want to build a circuit. I mentioned that I want 15 seconds between each side. So we'll need some repeaters that go around. I think I'll just use repeaters. We've got the space for it. We'll have repeaters that go around. It takes 15 seconds to go around this way, then 15 seconds to go around this way. And then in the middle of each section, we will power both droppers. So both these droppers will dispense an arrow, and then it will travel 15 seconds around, and then signal again. We'll dispense those 2 arrows, and then it will come round here again. And I think we can have the starting mechanic in the middle. That makes most sense to me. So I think we'll start here, and I want to start with a block. So imagine the circuit is coming across like this. The benefit of having a block here is we can move that block up one to break the circuit. So once, whatever our starting mechanism is, once the lever is turned off, this will pull this back up, and as the signal comes through, it won't be able to pass through this block. So now if we build this around, I think we will go around the back of the droppers. Yeah, there's definitely going to be enough room for all our repeaters here. And then we'll come through, and we will probably want it to be symmetrical. So we'll have another block here. So regardless of whether the signal is coming through here or through here, both of these blocks will pull up and no more arrows will be dispensed. So now in this middle section, when the signal gets to here, we want to redirect it, and we will want to power both of these. And I'll take signal away from there, bring it up to this block. This block gets powered, which will power the dropper underneath, spitting out the arrow. And both will be powered at the same time. So if there's only one person left on the team, that's quite interesting, because they have to run over here, grab this arrow, then run over here, grab this arrow, then try and shoot them both before this team gets their arrows, which I think could add a little bit of strategy where people maybe hold on to arrows, and there's a case where people have to kind of remember who's got arrows and how many arrows each team has. I'm not sure how this is going to play out. I think some people will come up with some interesting strategies. So now if I add the repeaters in, so we've got 34 full repeaters here, which is maybe between 13 and 14 seconds, I think, which I think will work well. And then I'm just going to build the same thing on the other side. And when I say build, I mean copy and paste. I quite like how this looks. So I mentioned that I want the starting mechanic in the middle. So let's put a lever on it. So this will now push down both of those pistons. Mr. Dust there. So this will push down both of those pistons, connecting the full circuit around the edge. Let's just trigger this. The system goes around one way. Now this, once it reaches this point, should dispense both arrows at the same time. There we go. And then as this continues round, it will pass through. Again, if this was pulled up, it wouldn't be able to go through here. But because it was down, that was fine. And then it continues round, and then these 2 arrows are dispensed. So the players are on here, they collect the arrows, they shoot the arrows, and then they have to dodge, and then you see it going around. It's maybe a little bit too fast, but I think it's good for now. And then they will be able to shoot the 2 arrows, And now, once the game is over, there'll be one person left on the platform, and they can turn the system off. You can see it's coming around here, and it's just going to fail. Yep, perfect. We have one final problem, which is how do we initiate the game? So what I'm thinking here is that we will have a randomizer here. So once this lever is pulled, there will be a 50-50 chance that a signal will go this way through that block, or it will go this way through that block. So what we want to do here is we want to activate a randomizer. I'm starting to regret that I'm recording this part. So we've got a dropper here and then a hopper. So we're going to read this from both sides. And the way this is, I've just realised that needs to go away because it should be unpowered until that is activated. So let's grab a shovel and a stick, put them both in here, and then if we activate this, one of those items will go into the hopper and it will be read by the comparators. A shovel gives off a redstone signal of 3, and a stick gives a redstone signal of 1. So let's try and get the stick. Yeah. So a redstone signal of 1. So what we want to set up here is so that one side will send a signal to this block if we get a signal of 3 from this hopper. And the more complicated side is we want the other side to send a signal when it's only 1 dust here and not 3. So for the 3 one, I think we could just have a lamp here, an observer reading that lamp, and then we just have some dust that goes through here. And because there's a repeater taking that out of the block, I believe this will work. The lamp will turn on, the observer will trigger, which powers the block, which powers the redstone dust on it, which will power all of that, which will soft power the block, and then the signal will be taken out by the repeater. I think that works, so let me just test that now. So we want the shovel to be triggered. Nope, let's try again. It's always when you want it, you get the other one. Okay, come on. It's supposed to be random. There we go. And you see that it actually triggered there. So that did work. It did send the pulse through that. And what that means is that when we get the 3 signal, that will mean the blue team will get the first arrows. And as you can see, the circuit continues round because this lever is still pressed down. But if we pull this back up, the blocks pull up. You notice that this observer gave another signal, but it didn't matter because this redstone dust now leads to an air block and won't carry through into the system. So now the more complicated side is we need this side to only trigger when the stick is chosen. So when you get 3 power, it needs to not trigger the lamp. So we'll have another lamp on this side, but it needs to not trigger it when you get 3 power, and it needs to trigger it when you get 1 power. The way that I've seen this work in the past, I've built these before, so I should know. It should be easy for me. But what I think we do here is we need this to go into a repeater. So this is the 1 signal, the repeater, and this will go on and power the lamp. But then we need a 3 signal over here, which, if this is triggered, it breaks the signal here before this can pass through it. So at the moment, we've got a 1-tick repeater there and a 1-tick repeater there, so those will trigger at the same time. But let's say we have another repeater here, and we lock this repeater. Let me just make sure that this is how this works. I'm going to break this repeater first so that that doesn't interfere. So if we power no, so we need a repeater here. Yeah. So when you power a repeater into the side of a repeater, it locks that repeater. So if we put this repeater down here, the signal now cannot travel through. So let's say we've got a lamp here. That lamp will not be powered because the signal cannot travel through it. So what we need here is we need this signal, which goes through a 1-tick repeater, then a 1-tick repeater. So that's 2 ticks. We need this signal to trigger before this one. So if we change this to be 3 ticks, this should be after this. So we want the stick to be chosen this time. So this time the stick was chosen, this dust was powered, this dust wasn't powered, which means that lamp turned on. So now we want the shovel, which of course is the shy one. Perfect. So the shovel was chosen, which means we got a signal of 3, which means this path was powered first, locking this repeater, and then the signal tried to come through and light the lamp, but because this is locked, it was unable to. And on this side you can see that this lamp did turn on, so that means that we have a randomizer that will work at the start of every round. So now to show you how this works in full, the players will be on these platforms, one of them will be able to press this lever, one of the sides is chosen, which means that the blue side will get their arrows first. Yep, perfect. And then they will collect the arrows, fire them to the other side, and then again, some time will pass. Yep, I can see the signal going through there, and they will get the arrow as well. And then once the game is over, we turn the lever off, and that pulls the block up, stops the circuit. That's it. I believe it's a working game. It's quite a simple build, really. So I'm going to build it on the survival server now, and hopefully record some footage of us playing it.